Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We continue our reading of the life and teachings of Shri Madhwacharya by C.M. Padmanabhachar. We are currently on page number 112, the beginning of the first paragraph. Sriman Madhva Vijaya mentions Trivandrum as the next place of importance visited by the touring party after leaving Vishnumangalam. We are left to conjecture, as best as we may, the precise route taken by the party in arriving at Anantashaina. It is possible that Sri Madhva proceeded southwards through Calicut and Cochin, or took an easterly direction, avoiding the numerous estuaries and backwater inroads of the sea that bar the way at short intervals throughout the coastline. In the previous sitting, we had listened to Acharya describing Sri Madhva's extraordinary feat of consuming a large number of bananas, around 200, and then from there, that Vishnu Mangalam, from there they moved to Trivandrum. So Acharya here says that the next place that Madhva Vijaya mentions is Trivandrum, but the route of which Madhva might have taken is not really very clear. It could have been either through the southwards through Calicut and Cochin, or it could have been through the other direction also directly. If there was no trunk road along the seashore as exists now, and if the boat service was not very efficient as might be presumed, it is possible that Sri Madhva avoided a crow flight route to the south. It is near Vishnumangalam that the flagstaff still stands, warning travelers against setting foot in Kerala. By going westward through the plateau of Mysore and Coimbatore, it was not difficult to cross the Ghats at some favorable point and descend to Travancore. So, most probably, he would have not entered Kerala, as there was a warning about people trying to enter there. Most probably, he would have gone westward through the plateaus of Mysore and Coimbatore and then entered into Travancore after crossing the Western Ghats. It will be seen as we proceed that towards the latter part of his career at least, Sri Madhva moved much in the strip of country lying between the rivers Kumaradhara and Netravati. This is the Saridhantar Doab referred to in the 16th chapter of Madhva Vijaya. The master toured much in this land, preached to many, and converted not a few of the learned men and those parts. The holy pond, known as Kanvatirtha, lies near this tract. The great Ashwatha tree, beneath which Sri Madhva ordained and founded the brotherhood of the 8 Udupi monks on a single day, is still in evidence. A line drawn from Kumbha and Vishnumangalam on the west to the peak of Subramanya on the east touches a large number of places intimately connected with Sri Madhva's episodes in the tail end of his career. In the 16th chapter of the Madhva Vijaya, there is a strip of country which is lying between Kumaradhara and Netravati, and this is referred to as Saridantar Doab. It is said that Acharya toured much in this land, and he converted many men to the path of truth. There is a holy pond known as Kanvatirtha in this tract, and a great Ashwatha tree also there, where beneath which Sri Madhva ordained and founded the brotherhood of the 8 Udupi mutts, which are the monks, and on a single day. And this exact position, they are saying that if you draw a line from Kumbha and Vishnumangalam on the west to the peak of the Subramanya on the east, then that line would touch a large number of places intimately connected to Sri Madhva's episodes in the latter part of his career. This circumstance suggests the conjecture that it was not mere chance that led his step in that direction. A few miles from Kanva to the east is Kadatala, where an entire copy of Sri Madhva's 37 works lies buried in the ground. Ujara and Neranke are other places of interest in Sri Madhva's life. Madhyatala is midway from the sea to the Subramanya peak. Herein remains one of the 8 Vedavyasa Shaligrams bought by the master. So here they are talking about the Kadatala, which is around a few miles from the Kanva towards the east. And there 37 works of Acharya Madhva lie buried under the ground. The other two places of interest in Madhva's life are Ujre and Neranki. The other one is Madhyatala, which is having one of the Shalagramas which Acharya bought from Badri. On these facts, it will be pardonable to guess that Sri Madhva had from the beginning some kind of ties or associations in this quarter, some good reason to turn to the east after reaching Vishnu Mangalam. It may be that there were numerous families owing allegiance to his mutt already in this doab, or it may be that this was the land of old kinship and family ties, the country where the community of Madhyageha and Achutapreksha lived for the most part. While on the one hand, it is possible that mere chance led Sri Madhva to visit these places late in life, it is also equally possible that he was connected with them from the very beginning by ties which we have no knowledge, and that he visited them even in his very first tour. In this connection, it may not be unimportant to mention a tradition, though it is not referred to in Madhva. The southernmost taluk of Coimbatore district is known as Udumalpet. The Annamalai hills extend a great deal into this taluk. Going about 12 miles from Udumalpet, one reaches a range of fairly high hills with a river flowing at the foot thereof. The spot presents a lovely picturesque scenery. The descent of crystal water from the rock to rock and the soft gurgle of sporting waters hardly disturbs the serene solitude of the hermit's seclusion. On one side is the rising mountain stretching out longitudinally as far as the eye can see. At the foot of it is the river, nestling as it were by its base and following parallel to the mountain. So, here the description of the beautiful Annamalai hills and the flowing river at that place is described by Acharya, and he says that this district, this place called Udumalpet lives in is in Coimbatore district. Not a grain of sand or mud floats in the water to disturb its clearness. It is all rock, the bed and the banks. On the banks of the river opposite the hill, there is a shrine sacred to the Trinity, the three Murtis of the Hindu pantheon, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. It is even now, a favorite resort of the neighboring country on all auspicious occasions. Pilgrims are numerous who visit the shrine for discharging all kinds of woes. In the middle of this river, a large flat rock rests on three boulders, forming a natural bridge and allowing a free flow of the current underneath. The rock is sufficiently spacious to accommodate at least 100 persons sitting down for a dinner. Traditions calls this by the name of Parai, meaning the rock of Madhvaraya. They add that Sri Madhva travelled to Trivandrum by crossing the river, which is fordable easy at that point, and treading the footpaths of the hills leading to the state of Travancore. This mountain forms, in fact, the boundary between the modern British India and the said native state. It is not therefore improbable that Sri Madhva took this particular route on the way to the temple of Anantashaina. It is likely that he spent some time in the mandap of the sacred Trimurti shrine and that during his sojourn he spent long hours sitting on the rock bearing his name and making tapas after his bath. One explanation that is sometimes guessed is that Sri Madhva sat this rock on the tripod like stones, and hence it bears his name. But this feat was performed not here but in the Mysore province at a place known as Ambutirtha near Kalasa village. Balehonnur Taluk on the right bank of Badra. This rock contains an inscription to this effect, number 79, Kardur district, Mudugere. Thus, this guess about the origin of Madhva Rayan Parai is made in ignorance of the Ambu Tirtha rock, whose inscription contains convincing proof of the episode. But there is no ground to reject the tradition that Sri Madhva honored this spot by a stay of some duration. Dilapidated and broken statues and images of great size with the ruins of edifices testify to the existence of a large village or temple once close to this shrine. Hence, it is not at all unlikely that Sri Madhva bent his holy steps in this direction, attracted as much by the shortcut it offered to reach Ananta Shaina as by the charming solitude and seclusion of the neighborhood. Sri Madhva would have loved to look at the lofty scenery of the hills, enjoy the inviting seclusion, take his daybreak baths in the crystal springs, do tapas in peaceful solitudes under the shelter of stupendous stones. A scenery calculated to throw a spell on any person of introspective leanings and habits, and peculiarly attractive to one of Sri Madhva's bent of mind as a retirement of rishis. So Udamalpet is described by the Acharya here as a very picturesque place. And in the along the stream there are three big boulders, and resting on the three big boulders was a huge rock which can actually accommodate about 100 people to sit down for a meal. And on the rock, it is the tradition, I mean the place around that, the people of Udumalpet call this rock as the Madhvarayan Parai, meaning the rock of Madhvaraya. It is said that Madhwacharya would have rested at this place for some time while he was journeying towards Anantashaina, and he would have taken a bath in the crystal clear waters of this place and sat down on the rock and did tapas. This is what is known. But people can mistake this also for the other rock, which was carried by Acharya Madhva to stop the floods from destroying the village, which was at Ambutirtha near Kalasa village. There, the rock still bears the testimony because it has been inscribed there. Here, there is no that kind of inscription, but the tradition says that Acharya arrived here and he spent some time in this serene place. The conjecture that he passed through what is Coimbatore district now receives some support and corroboration from the circumstance that an idol of Sri Madhva was an object of worship in one of the temples of a village called Pala Toluvu near the Utukulli railway station of this district. This village had many flourishing temples, including one dedicated to Hanuman. The ruins in the vicinity of the village testify to this. During the troublous convulsions of the anti British history, these temples suffered like thousands of others in this unhappy country. Sri Madhva's image was lying uncared for like other images until very recently the venerable head of Mulabagal Mutt took possession of it. It is now included among the idols worshipped in the Brindavana Tope on the banks of the Kaveri near the Kaveri station of the Madras Railway. It is a significant fact that such an image should have been found in Pala Toluvu. It may be that Sri Madhva stopped for a time in this village on his way to Trimurti Hills and Trivandrum, and that he left such a strong impression on the inhabitants that they commemorated the stay by a small statue. So, this is something that Acharya says that in a village called Pala Toluvu, near the Uttukuli railway station, there were many temples, and during the British invasion, many of the temples were destroyed and the images were just scattered around. Same way, some this one image of Madhva was found in that, and Mulbagul Mat Swamiji of the 1900s took it and gave it for worship. So this incident reveals that Acharya Madhva must have come to that area, and he might have influenced the people in the area so much that they decided to have an image of him and worship it also. I have probably taken far too much space in pressing the claims of a mere conjecture. My anxiety is to place on record whatever materials exist as the foundation of further research. I feel no partiality or bias in favor of the supposition thus discussed and shall feel no disappointment to find myself mistaken. So he is telling that this is his conjecture and it is not just any fact, but he can any other research on this would be really good. By some route or other, the party arrived at Trivandrum and spent some time in the holy precincts of the Sri Padmanabha temple while staying in this town. Sri Madhva found himself thrown into unpleasant contact with the then head of the Sringeri monastery. It chanced that Vidyashankara Swami of the Sringeri Mutt, the lineal representative of the original Sri Shankara, was also touring towards Rameshwaram. The Sringeri list of genealogical successions notes 2028 AD as the year in which this abbot became the pontiff. After reaching Trivandrum, they resided at the Padmanabha temple. And at that time, Vidyashankara Swami of the Sringeri Mutt also was passing through that same place, touring towards Rameshwaram. And he had some contact with that Swamiji. That Swamiji has been, his time of accepting the pontiff of that Sringeri Mutt was 2028 AD. For many obvious reasons, the meeting of Sri Madhva and Vidya Shankara was unpleasant and unfortunate. The former was a young reformer, full of enthusiasm and brimming over with energy and order. The latter was the head of an institution which had a sort of undisputed sway so far and was in command of wealth and influence. Vidya Shankara's position hardly admitted of a tolerating spirit and meekness. He could not have looked upon Sri Madhva as other than a heretic and could not have repressed a smile of disdain from his own standpoint. When the interview came on, a stormy altercation was the result. The belief is that Vidya Shankara was no other than Sri Shankara himself reincarnated. The difference in the positions in that financial or the standing of these two swamis, one very young, just assumed into the monastic order by Achyuta Preksha and moving around the country and also establishing his philosophy. At the same time, the other person, Vidya Shankara, had lot of wealth and influence and he was established mutt in that area. Now, these two people, when they had to uh, par with the with respect to the philosophical thoughts, then what happened? A calm demeanor and dispassionate argument was out of question when the Sringeri monk found himself bearded by a mere youth. Where he expected submission, loyalty, and respectful address, he met with defiance and challenge. He was therefore completely put out. It is obvious that an academical disputation took place and that the subject was no other than Sri Sankara's Advaita. Sri Madhva had by this time become quite an adept in dealing with the weak points of monism. He levelled his blows with firmness and courage and desisted not until the adversary surrendered. It is said that this Vidya Shankara was an reincarnation of Sri Shankara himself, and they started the debate which was on Advaita. The Vidya Shankara was totally taken aback by the by Sri Madhva's approach and his look, and he felt that he could not maintain a calm demeanor and a dispassionate argument, which should be the case when he is having a debate. But he was not. He was completely taken aback, and he was not expecting the defiance and challenge that Madhva exhibited. It is an obvious. It is obvious that an academical disputation took place and that the subject was no other than Sri Sankara's Advaita. Sri Madhva had by this time, okay, we had finished this just now. Vidya Shankara deemed it presumption for Sri Madhva to criticize Shankara Bhashya without having written a commentary himself to take its place. When arguments failed, the well known device of abusing the plaintiff's attorney was largely resorted to. The challenge was thrown out that Sri Madhva ought to write a Bhashyam if he could. Sri Madhva retorted that nothing was nearer his heart than to produce such a commentary, and that he was thankful that no penal code had penalized his intention to produce one. At last they parted in anger, quite unreconciled and unconvinced. Both left Trivandrum en route to Cape Comorin and the island of Rameshwaram. They did not meet again before reaching this last place. It is said that Vidya Shankara was angry that he could not support the views that he held, and all of them were clearly and well debated by Madhva. With his arguments, he had suppressed the Advaita's theories and put forward his truth theories. So, hearing this, then Acharya Madhva was criticized personally instead of doing it in a very academical debate. He started criticizing, and the finally he told that if you had the courage to write a new bhashyam, then only you should start talking about the all written bhashya which is already there. And so Acharya Madhva accepted the challenge. He said that nothing was more dearer to his heart. And then they both set out. Both of them were traveling towards Rameshwaram. Some months must have elapsed in the interval. One day when Sri Madhva was going to the sea for a bath, he met Sri Vidyashankar again. This was in Rameshwaram. The acrimonious meeting of Ananta Shaina came to be repeated with tenfold bitterness. An animated and stormy altercation ensued. They sat down for a contest. Sri Madhva challenged his opponent to a disputation, the penalty whereof should be to destroy the scepter of the vanquished debatant. Madhva Vijaya does not expressly say whether the challenge was accepted and whether anybody's scepter was broken. There was a contest and Sri Madhva came out victorious. So the second meeting of Vidya Shankara and Acharya Madhva took place when they were going for the bath towards the sea in Rameshwaram. And after the altercation that had happened in Anantashayana, Vidya Shankara was nursing the grudge to attack Madhva at any smallest pretext. And a stormy altercation ensued. Then they sat down for a contest, and it was declared that whoever lost, they should break their staff. But Madhavija does not expressly say that anyone's staff was broken. It is only said that Sri Madhva came out victorious in the debate. So now we shall stop here. We are on the page 119 and we shall continue in our next sitting. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.